Hi, I'm Tara Lynn of Geek Saga Entertainment here with my co-host Manny for our September 2025 State of the Saga discussion.
So I'm Manny, and in these monthly update shows, we'll be talking about what we've been up to, playing, reading, and or watching, and probably also just general stuff that's going on with our lives and maybe even recent pop culture happenings.
Before we get started, just a heads up that you can follow me and therefore all of the Geek Saga endeavors at a Geek Saga on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube.
And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Benissimo Art.
Just a few house cleaning items before we dig in. First, thank you to any patrons who are joining us for the patron-only live stream version of this month's State of the Saga. Second, thank you also to any patrons watching the early release of the live stream recording. You guys are such a big part of helping us keep the lights on, so to speak, at Geek Saga Entertainment, and we truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you and the support you give. Finally, if you're listening to this recording once it's gone public, keep in mind that we record these approximately 2 to 2.5 weeks prior to their public release. And also, pretty please make sure to hit those like and or subscribe buttons. And if you're catching it somewhere where you can give it a rating, it would really help us out if you could mark it 5 stars. Also, if you aren't already part of our Patreon family, please check out our sponsorship options. For just $5 a month, you can watch our State of the Saga episodes live and get access to our show notes, while for just $3 a month, you get early access to the podcast version of these episodes and all other podcast episodes, among some other fun content. Check it out at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.
With all that out of the way, we're going to get into our discussion. We're going to kick this month's episode off with news and or gossip.
So Manny and I, we've gone back and forth about this a few times, and I've always decided nope on including any discussion of this first thing that we're going to talk about. But you guys, I think it's finally time for me to bring some news and gossip about Alec Peters and Axanar back onto the Geek Saga show. The last time I spent any time specifically talking about this on this webcast or podcast was way back at the end of 2023. So I don't know, this is where I'm like, where do I even start? Because I don't want to spend a fuck ton of time on this, but for some of the Alec Peters and Axanar history, I suggest checking out the Axanar fandom lore playlist on the Geek Saga YouTube channel, or for a more personal look at how and why I'm tangentially involved in this nonsense, the Alec Peters tag on my website, geeksaga.com/tag/Alec-Peters. That said, I'm not going to get too much into the really personal side of things here. And while there's definitely some good basic information in my Axanar fandom lore playlist, the stuff that's happened more recently in this whole saga is more focused on a civil lawsuit that he started against Paul Jenkins, who is a friend of mine, among many other things, including being a comic book writer and a screenwriter. The TLDR version of this lawsuit is that it started in 2020. Alec Peters sued Paul Jenkins. Paul had been volunteering his experience, I guess, like helping him with some script edits and rewrites for his permitted Axanar segments. Again, like I don't want to go into all the details, but basically Prelude to Axanar was a thing Alec made. It was like this really actually great 20-minute fan film. It's a Star Trek fan film. It allowed him to raise a fuck ton of money. I mean, the official amount, it was like 1.4 or 1.6 million, but he probably raised closer to 2 million because there were like some cash donations and stuff. But then he also started selling Axanar quote unquote merch that had the Star Trek Delta on it, like with no edits or anything like that. So he got sued by CBS. They settled that lawsuit. I'm not going to get into why, but let's just say that Alec Peters likes to call it a win, quote unquote, that they settled, but pretty sure that it was settled because CBS was like, hey, well, if you're going to keep fighting us, then we want all of your financials. And Alec did not want to give them all of those financials. And so they settled. He was permitted in this settlement to make 2 15-minute Axanar episodes, not the original full-length quote-unquote feature film that he had promised the fans who donated to him. And over the years, he has gone through countless people. I mean, my husband, Dean, helped build the sets. He has not had anything to do with Alec Peters since like 2017 or early 2018. There's been like 4 or 5 directors. I don't even know at this point. Paul was the second to last director, essentially. And Paul walked away from the project project. And because him and his studio at the time, I think it was called Meta Studios, and this is pre-Facebook being Meta too, funny enough. He walked away from the project and his studio put out a press release. And when I say press release, it didn't go to like major news outlets, right? They just put it on their website, maybe sent it to a couple other like studios and stuff that they worked with. But Alec turned around and sued Paul and Meta Studios for defamation. And then Paul copyrighted his edits to the scripts that he'd made, something along those lines. And again, I am spitballing a little bit here. I could have probably been more detailed about this, but I don't think it really matters. But basically, Paul copyrighted his own work. And Alec had a shit fit because the copyright meant he couldn't use any of that in the future episodes. So then he added fraud, I think, to the defamation lawsuit. Honestly, this is nonsense. It sounds a lot like two middle-aged-ish nerds fighting over nothing, right? The problem is this lawsuit began in 2020. It is now 2025. It is just over 5 years since Alex sued Paul, and it has been dragged out and dragged out and dragged out. And for sure, some of that was on Paul's end because he refused to settle, which Alec is the king of settling lawsuits. And I don't just mean the one with CBS. He loves to sue people and get those lawsuits settled. He doesn't actually want to go to court.
So is that what they would consider the professional plaintiff here? Somebody who just sues for the sake of settling?
Yeah. And the documents Manny is talking about is that this week there was a motion in limine. This court case is finally going to trial beginning September 22nd. I believe it's a jury trial too, which seems insane to me, but it's a little bit exciting and also a little bit worrisome because you never know how jury trials are going to go, obviously. But yeah, there was a motion in limine filed around August 20th by Alec Peters that was basically like, you can't admit any of this evidence or any of these witnesses. Now that motion was denied, and we can go into a little bit more of that. But yeah, part of that motion, the thing that you were asking about was the professional plaintiff thing.
Mhm.
And yes, that's what that's about, because obviously CBS were the ones who sued Alec. But in the past 13 years, 15 years, something like that, I think it's been more like 13 years, Alec has sued at least 6 people, Paul being one of them. Let's see, hold on, I got to think about it. There was a guy named Jason DeBoard who he sued for defamation. He lost that case. He has a slap motion, a slap judgment against him in California. So he can't sue anybody in California for defamation because basically they said no. A slap judgment is when like, it's like somebody suing like a newspaper for reporting news, essentially. So he sued Jason DeBoard, Robert Meyer Burnett, who was one of the original directors. He worked on Prelude and he worked on the Vulcan scene, which was like a short that came after Prelude, and he was continuing to work on Axanar for a little while, and then he left. So he sued Robert Meyer Burnett in the wrong state, in the wrong jurisdiction. He sued him in Georgia. Robert lives in California. Alex sued him in the wrong jurisdiction, but it cost Robert money to get that suit dismissed. He sued somebody named Tiana Armstrong over a perceived business deal that he felt he should have been involved in. He sued my husband, Dean, and his prior business partner, Jared, over the same business deal. Dean was dismissed because, again, he was sued in the wrong state.
Is that like on purpose, or is that?
I will say probably yes, with a very firm on the probably.
It just seems like it's rolling the dice to see if the person even shows up, because unless I'm mistaken, if they don't show up, then they're going to be held liable for whatever that case is.
And then he sued Paul. So that's what? Jason DeBoard, Tiana Armstrong, Dean, Jared, Paul. Alec also has 2 judgments against him right now, one for a bank loan that he never repaid, and another because CBS Paramount came after him for violating the terms of the settlement agreement, and it went to arbitration because the settlement agreement said any future arguments have to go just directly to arbitration. And he lost the arbitration, and currently he owes CBS Paramount over $300,000 in damages.
Jesus.
It's all lawyers' fees pretty much, but
yeah.
But this is the current thing. So this trial is coming up in like 2 weeks-ish, week and a half, something like that. It starts September 22nd, but there's going to be jury selection and stuff first. And this motion in limine was filed in August. And a motion in limine is basically like, it's a Hail Mary. It's a please don't, like we're trying to get the court to not allow these witnesses or this information because we don't think it applies to the case, right? It is completely common. It is not off the wall that this was filed. But there's some great stuff in here.
There is.
Here we go. For the past 5 years, the parties have engaged in voluminous written and e-discovery, scouring the earth for evidence of all of the evils occasioned upon the universe by one another. I don't think a lawyer wrote this.
I don't think so either.
I think a lawyer by training, which Alec is, he went to law school, graduated, passed the bar, and never practiced. We don't know why.
It's just some interesting wording in all of this.
Yeah, and then there's this one, the matter being definitively set. This should be definitively, not definitely, I believe, but being definitely set for jury trial on a 2-week calendar beginning September 22nd, 2025. At last, we come to the final frontier of this particular litigation. Why are you inserting Star Trek? Like, come on. The judge don't care about your Star Trek references, guys.
Yeah.
So where was the professional? That was kind of deep in here. But yes, the lawsuits were the professional plaintiff thing. What was the other question you had?
Torts.
So sanctions torts is the way it's worded. Oh God, this is a great sentence too. Defendants have made multiple allegations that Alec Peters, and by extension Axanar, is a professional plaintiff or engaged in some unidentifiable but apparently meanie pants process of engaging in sanctions towards. I'm pretty sure I cried when I first read the term meanie pants in a fucking motion to a court.
I really thought this was written by like a legitimate lawyer. And I was like, is this how these things are actually written? Because there was a lot of wording that I was just like.
It's not uncommon for lawyers to add some like flowery language to motions and stuff because, like, let's be real, they got to read through so many of these things. And like, you want to be a little bit memorable. I think Alec's lawyer wrote some of this.
Yeah.
I don't believe he wrote all of it. I could be wrong. That is just supposition on my part, to use a legal term here. But sanctions torts is actually not an actual term, as far as I know. I think what it is he's combining two terms. Like, sanctions are penalties that like are used to enforce laws. Torts are civil wrongs that cause harm or loss. So a court would possibly issue sanctions for torts, right? Like they would sanction somebody for consistently causing somebody harm or loss. So I think that the use of the term isn't like entirely incorrect, but it's not, as far as I know, an actual legal term, which is interesting. Because it's quoted, it could have come from a previous document that was filed by one of Paul's lawyers. Honestly, I don't know. I have not read every single document letter by letter because there's so many of them. But yeah, that's, as far as I know, that's not a real legal term. But because it's in quotes, it could be something that was used before. I'm just saying, I don't know, if you're hearing that somebody has been involved in 5 to 7 lawsuits in the course of 15 years or less, and they were the one that started at least 5 of them, would you think that maybe they're trying to be a professional plaintiff? Listen, I'll leave it up to you, right?
It came out familiar to me because I did a deep dive on that dude who was the King of Kong guy or whatever, the Donkey Kong guy.
Oh, yeah.
But it seemed kind of similar, I guess. So Meta Studios, is that in Georgia?
Meta Studios, the original Meta Studios that was part of the lawsuit. So Meta Studios LLC doesn't exist anymore and hasn't for many years. It's been rebranded to something else. It's still Meta something, I believe, but this doesn't exist as it was included in this lawsuit. I don't know what that means for the lawsuit. I don't know if it really means anything, but the company was in Georgia and Paul lives in Georgia as well. So like, he's not, at least this time, I guess, he's not suing somebody in the wrong state. I don't know. I didn't, like I said, I didn't want to spend too much time talking about, but do you have any additional questions before we move on? Because like, I was just reading these things and being like, wow, dude.
I don't have a stake in this game because I don't know anybody part of this. I do remember watching Axanar when it came out and I thought it was interesting. And then I heard that whoever made it had the lawsuit, which honestly, even when I watched it, I was like, it's not going to take long at this point. They're going to come after you. And Axanar was good. It was very interesting to watch. And it was very cool to see, like, you know, a fanfic done in that kind of quality. It's a shame that everything went kind of downhill because I think it would have been a really interesting thing to see, you know, in a completed form, I guess.
Well, and I think too that like, well, that's one of the arguments that Alec and his supporters constantly make, is that he was only sued because it was too good. That's not why he was sued. He was sued because he was using the Star Trek IP to raise over $1 million. And then he was selling merchandise with their copyrighted logos and stuff on it. And it's like, at that point, they have no choice but to protect their IP, because if they don't, then in the future, somebody can say, well, you didn't protect it this time, so you can't protect it now.
Yep.
So the idea that they were only sued because it was too good is nonsense. Like, it's absolute hysterical nonsense, but they parrot that just like they parrot everything else over and over and over again. Oh, man. So let's move on to, what are we watching?
I actually started rewatching random episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. I don't know why they always, anytime I rewatch anything, I always seem to kind of float back to this. I think it has to do with that back in the days when things had more of a positive outlook in the world, and I had to wash some things out of my sight.
I can imagine. So you were rewatching stuff that makes you feel good.
I was rewatching stuff that made me feel good. Next Generation gives me a nice bright look at the future, and Deep Space Nine is actually more realistic, as in today, where everything is fucked, but it has a good ending in the end.
And you know that, so.
And I know that, so I'm like, you know what? They both work.
Any particular episodes that you want to call out, or just kind of enjoying your?
No. So it's funny because when you ask somebody favorite Next Generation episode, they're always going to say the same thing: Best of Both Worlds, when Captain Picard gets assimilated by the Borg. Fantastic two-parter episode, probably the best in the entire series when it comes to like excitement. My episodes are two of them. One of them is called Tapestry, and it's where Captain Picard gets killed, and he gets the opportunity to go back in time, back to when he was younger and a cadet, and he gets to live his life, but with his mentality today. And he absolutely destroys his life because he never took risks. He never did these things. He's playing it too safe. He's doing all these kind of things, and there's this scene in the end where Picard is talking to Riker, and he's like, you pull on one thread of your life and it unravels the entire tapestry of who you are. And it's always mind-blowing. And then the second one is this one called The Inner Light, and that is a really good episode. Captain Picard, he gets zapped by this like probe that's out in space, and he pretty much relives the life of somebody else on this other planet. The sun had gone supernova 1,000 years ago, so this was their way of showing people who go through that quadrant who they were, where they lived and stuff like that, because at this point that planet doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. So he lives out this entire life, and the first few months he's like, oh, something's wrong. But then for the rest of his life, and he grows into a very old man, he's convinced that that is his life. And throughout the episode, he's learning how to play this little flute, and he gets really good at it. And at the very end, people who he got old with and they passed away show back up in their younger forms. And he's like, what is this? And he's like, we just wanted to show you who we were as a people. It's this really touching moment when he's like, wait a minute, like I really am like Captain Picard. That is true. That's who I am. And he wakes up 20 minutes after the probe got him, but he lived this entire life. So he goes back to his quarters, and Riker shows up and says, look, they dismantled the probe and they found this inside of it. And he opens it, and it's the flute, and he pulls it out and starts playing it, and then just the closing credits go up. And I was like, man, that episode always tears me up, man. I love that. Yeah.
I don't think I've seen either one of those. Like I've seen some episodes of TNG, maybe I've seen random episodes of DS9, but I know for a fact I've seen some TNG, and I don't remember either one.
Those are those are not your general go-to episodes, because there's a lot of great episodes in Next Generation, Best of Both Worlds, the last episode, All Good Things, or like Yesterday's Enterprise. There's so many episodes, any of the Redemption ones or Unification, like those are the ones that people watch a lot. But I picked out these, like, there's a great episode after Best of Both Worlds, actually. It's called Family, and it's Picard going back home because he's traumatized to what happened to him. And that is a fantastic episode. Great tearjerker. Really, really good. I mean, Next Generation and Deep Space Nine has great writing, period. But there are some things, some of those episodes that I'm telling you are just written so beautifully and practically bring me to tears, literally almost 40 fucking years later.
Funny when I think about that. Ugh. Because I remember watching TNG episodes when my grandmother was babysitting me when my mom was working when I was like in late elementary. Maybe they were reruns, but like late elementary, early middle school.
Yeah, when I first started, when it came out, I think I was 10 years old when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came out in 87. I was 10 years old, man. And it was just like, dude.
But it was on the air for a long time, right?
For a long time. Well, it was 7 years is what it was.
Yeah,
yeah.
For me, I finished watching a bunch of stuff that we talked about last month. I finished watching And Just Like That, which was the Sex and the City reboot thing. I did not realize until like within the last couple of weeks of the season that it would be the series finale that I would be watching. Part of me wants to say thank God. But honestly, another part of me is sad that I don't get to see the mess go even further. So it ended. That was the thing I watched. I'm glad I watched it, I guess. I didn't have anything else to watch this on. Gilded Age season 2 wrapped up. I don't really have any thoughts on the season as a whole or the season finale. Like, it was a good season, but it also at times felt like they were kind of going in circles. It's hard to describe. I don't know. It was still good. I still enjoyed it. Resident Alien, that was another series finale. Again, I don't have a ton to say. I thought I would have more to say, but they wrapped it up about as well as they could. I did feel it was a little bit rushed in the end, and the ending of the series was also a bit more bittersweet than I would have liked for this show, especially. But overall, still one of my favorite series in a long time. Highly suggest that everyone, including you, Manny, check it out. At least the first 3 seasons are on Netflix, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So it's just the 4th season that just came out that isn't yet. Started watching It's Always Sunny. There were so many, albeit like old school, It's Always Sunny cosplays at Dragon Con that had me jonesing to catch up with It's Always Sunny because I knew I was at least a couple of seasons behind. And like, listen, it continues to be It's Always Sunny, that being sometimes gross and always cringe, but somehow enjoyable because of those things. There's nothing really to say. I didn't really find any of the episodes extremely memorable, but there was a funny shtick where they were in Ireland for like 3 or 4 episodes that was kind of like, whoa, okay. And there were some interesting things that happened. Like they were staying in a castle and Dennis was saying the castle was talking to him. And I was like, what the fuck is this ridiculous? But he also had COVID, so like maybe he was hallucinating. Also,
That's
Only
funny.
Murders in the Building is back. Yay. I only got into this show a bit earlier this year, so it was great not having to like wait 5 ever for the new season. It's only 3 episodes in, so I'll have more to say about it next month probably, but enjoying it so far. I think they're giving it a little bit of a different twist this season, which is interesting. The show is literally about 3 people who start a podcast because there's a murder in their building, and then they somehow are able to continue the podcast because there's more murders in the building. So they needed to go somewhere different with it because there can only be so many murders in one building in New York City.
Yep.
Peacemaker is also back. Definitely some different vibes with the multiverse thing happening in Peacemaker season 2, but I'm still really enjoying it. I still fucking hate that we had to wait like, I don't even know, 3.5 years for season 2 of this. Something, maybe it was 2.5 years. I don't remember. It's been so long.
I think that's been the biggest like deterrent, not to interrupt you, but this is like been the biggest deterrent of me getting into any television shows. If I like it, I'm gonna have to wait 3 years, 2 years. When does House of the Dragon come out again? Is that next year?
Maybe.
You know? Maybe. Come on, man.
Well,
I can't wait that
Peter
long.
was extra long because they did the whole DCU reboot thing. So I don't think it would have been as long if they hadn't done that. But they basically like they even changed the ending scene of Peacemaker season 1 to like fit the DCU reboot. So yeah, but I mean, it's fucking hilarious. If you have HBO, you should be watching it. I do not give 2 shits about the DCU, honestly. Like I'm a Marvel person at heart, but Peacemaker's great. I've also been watching Alien Earth, which is on, I don't know, Hulu, Disney.
It's Hulu. I heard it was pretty decent. A friend of mine called me and recommended it to me.
Yeah, it's the thing I'm watching. It's not bad. I don't understand how or why it takes place before the first Alien movie because it's Alien Earth. So do you know the premise at all? Because I don't want to spoil anything for you, but like,
I know some of the premise, but I know it doesn't make sense.
It's Alien. Yeah, it doesn't at all, literally at all. But the cinematography of it is awesome. I like it so much because they do a really good job of, or at least I think they do a really good job of making it feel like old school, like aliens. Obviously the coloring and everything is better, but like the way they cut things, the music, I don't know, just the cinematography in general. Like if anybody's watching it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It really feels like they're doing old school aliens, but with like, slightly better cameras. It's really good.
It kind of reminded me of that video game that they made. I forgot what it was. They made it probably like 5-6 years ago. There was an Alien game that came out that really captured everything, like the aesthetic of the first Alien movie, and I thought it was fantastic.
This does that. I will say that. Regardless of any questions I have about the timeline or whatever, it definitely captures that feel. The xenomorphs, oh my God. There's scenes where it's like, wait, this looks exactly like it did in Alien.
Yeah,
like,
that's awesome.
Yeah. And then my roommate put his Apple TV on my PlayStation. So I was like, ooh, Apple TV, yay. So I started watching Dickinson. It's about Emily Dickinson, and it takes place in the 1800s when she lived, but it has a lot of like modern stylization, like some language, lots of modern music. Plus it's a little bit gay. I don't know. I'm really, really loving it, especially because I've never been huge on poetry, but Emily Dickinson is one of 2 poets I've always loved. W.B. Yeats being the other one. I've always loved the way she wrote her poems. So Haley Steinfeld is in it.
Kate Bishop.
Yes, Kate Bishop. So she's in it. She plays Emily Dickinson, and she's also like a producer. I don't know. It's just a really cute, like fun take on Emily Dickinson's life. And it's also got, what's her name? Jane. I'm not going to remember the actress's name, but she was in 30 Rock and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, the blonde who always plays like the rich spoil. Yeah, she's great. Jane Krakow? Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah. So
she's fantastic though. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. It's a really fun show. And then usually I have things I've watched because like, why not? I have nothing else to watch, but I don't have anything because I weirdly have had plenty of new stuff I was actually interested in watching this past month. Plus, to be honest, like not much time to watch stuff. So reading. Have you been reading anything?
Shit, no, I haven't. This month I was like, fuck it. I didn't read anything. I read some ingredients online. And then, when you take the frozen pizza out and like, I can never what temperature it's supposed to be at or how long it's supposed to be in there. That's about the extent of my reading this month. Honestly, it's been a slow month.
Honestly, it's been slow for me too. I started last month, not long before Dragon Con, I started the newest secret project book from Brandon Sanderson. I briefly mentioned it before we started recording. It's called Isles of the Emberdark. I literally just finished it less than an hour before we started this. So it was weeks of reading. It was really good. I really liked it. The interesting thing about it is, and I don't know if the mass publication version is going to be like this, but a huge portion of the book is on black pages with white typeface. So as good as the book was, it was hard to read in like low light, especially for somebody who has like really bad, like I don't need reading glasses yet, cross fingers, knock on wood, et cetera, but it was a bit difficult. It was a bit difficult to read even though I use dark mode for literally everything on my phone and even, on my computer when I can, it was hard to read. Maybe they should have bolded the white typeface more on the black pages. I don't know. But the book itself was really good. Like if you're a Cosmere person, I know you haven't read Cosmere stuff, but it's very tied into like all of the Cosmere stuff in ways that even more ways I think than some of the other secret projects were. So it was good. Audiobooks, I started one called Thrown in the Dark by A.K. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this person's name right, Caggiano. It's the first book in a series. I think it's a trilogy called Villains and Virtues. A friend of mine who I trust her recommendations, she posted about it, so I decided to check it out. It's decent. I might feel differently if I'd paid for a copy of it because like I'm over half, I think I'm like 3/4 of the way through now and I'm still not sure it's like my type of book, but for like a freebie audiobook via Spotify Premium, it's good enough. It's got some good world building. Characters at times are really cool and at times I'm like, oh my God, this is so fucking trite. Like, let's move on. I think it might be a romantasy, but like there's no sex stuff yet, so we'll see. There's like hinted at like, ooh, I want you too, but like nothing has actually happened. So I don't know. Like for a free book, it's fine. Have you been playing anything?
No, actually, I had just turned on this TV that I have over here in the corner that I bought for my office that I've used 2 times. And I have those little Nintendo Classics and Super Nintendo Classics. And I was like, I'll turn it on. And so I've played one game in the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. I played it for like 20 minutes, I go through cycles like that, man, where it's like I'll get involved with a game and it's going to take up all of my time. And then it's like I don't touch anything for a long time.
Same. I jumped back into Red Dead Online finally. Like I said, I was maybe last month. Mostly I was doing it to get myself used to the controls again before maybe pulling up story mode if I ever have free time. Jumping into Red Dead Online, it's like, I can do a couple of dailies or whatever and just like sign off. But like if I go into Red Dead Online, I know I'm going to be sucked into it for like hours because I'm going to want to play through a certain amount of the story mode. And I have been playing Red Dead Online at least like once every, 2 to 3 days. Recently, I've been hearing a lot of people talking about how bad Red Dead Online is now with the modders and the griefers. But like knock on wood, I have not really experienced that. The modders, I don't think I'm experiencing because I'm pretty sure with Red Dead Online, you can only play with like your own, like I am only playing with other PlayStation players, not with computer players. Griefers, I don't know. I've been killed by a player once. in the, half a dozen times or so I've played in the past couple weeks. And honestly, I will take the blame for that because I did not realize I'd been put in offensive mode. And I was riding toward a player who was doing either like a goods or a moonshine delivery. So I feel like they probably thought that a level like 351 or something player was coming at them as a griefer to steal their shit or like wreck their delivery. So like they killed me, and it was like they didn't come chase me down or anything. After that, I was riding by them real fast. I was on my way to something else. I was not going after them, but I can't really like blame them for being like, oh, offensive mode person coming at me who's like a level 350 something. That makes me look like a griefer, honestly. I will even agree with that. All right, listening. What have you been listening to?
Lots of lo-fi jazz, still lo-fi, but I was switching it up a bit, something a little slower than what I was already listening to. But that's the stuff I generally listen to with my ADHD brain when I'm working or trying to focus on something. I did have a little listening party with my son to check out Sabrina Carpenter's new album because she had released a new video, which was actually really good. Like, look, I know Sabrina Carpenter is not like everybody's cup of tea, man, but she really does a good job of entertaining. She's a really good entertainer. She's a great singer. The album was actually good. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll listen to it with you, whatever. But it was actually good, and I actually really enjoyed it because I did take him to the Sabrina Carpenter concert last year, I think it was, and I was very entertained. I was like, this is just an entertaining show. Whether I was into it or not is like irrelevant. I'm not bored. But yeah, if you're into that kind of stuff and you haven't done so, check it out.
I've listened to some of her music, but mostly just the stuff I've already heard on the radio. I don't necessarily search it out, but I like what I've heard. So
she's really good, and like I got into it. Really, I liked her back when she did a video with Lindsey Sterling, the violinist, like way back in the day. And I loved it. I was like, man, she's got a great voice for like that sultry kind of. I was like, I always hear people and I'm like, oh, they need to be doing sultry dark jazz stuff because she has a great voice for it. And I just kind of forgot about it. And then years later, that Espresso song came out, and I actually liked that song. I thought that was a nice little jam, and I was like, this is a cool song, and started listening to it, and I thought it was great, man. And I just felt like, because I was trying to tackle both at the same time, where I was trying to listen to Taylor Swift stuff and then I was trying to listen to Sabrina Carpenter stuff, because a lot of people have gone back and forth. I don't think they're really comparable. I think they both do different things, but Taylor Swift, with all due respect, she's fantastic. She's a great artist, just not my cup of tea. I couldn't get into it.
Her and Chapel Roan is another one that's been Chapel Roan, Sabrina Carpenter, and Taylor Swift seem like the biggest, like they're the pop stars of the current generation.
They certainly are. And Chapel Roan is good. I actually spent time listening to Chapel Roan.
I like all three of them.
Yeah, Taylor Swift just didn't stick for me. It just wasn't I don't know. It just didn't stick. Like, I respect her. She's a fantastic artist.
Oh, for sure.
She deserves every bit of what she gets when it comes to like popularity and all that stuff. Absolutely deserves it. Just not. I
mean, her lyrics, she can play several instruments. Like, I love her B-sides mostly way more than I love the songs that are on the radio. So Vigilante shit, listen to Vigilante shit.
Yeah.
By Taylor Swift. That's probably my favorite Taylor Swift song.
Yeah.
I fucking love that song. All right. So in conclusion, upcoming events or things we're excited about.
Honestly, I think the only thing is like Halloween. I want to do something for Halloween this year. Yeah. I didn't really get to dress up a lot, Dragon Con or anything. So it's like, I want to do something. And I don't really participate in Halloween aside from going to a party. But now I'm like, you know what? I want to dress up like I did when I was like a kid. I want to do Halloween stuff.
Yeah. For me, it's just Dean and Cam being here with me in South Carolina kind of soon. All right. Well, as we close out the episode, we once again want to give a huge thanks to our patrons for their support. Make sure to check out our other Geek Saga show series, including Media That Made Us, 90s and Naughties Cringe Factor, the Impulsive Hyper-Focused solo episodes, and more. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, or rate us 5 stars wherever you're watching or listening. And as always, please also consider, if you aren't already doing so, supporting us by backing our Patreon at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.